Alrighty, so I figured I would test out my new green screen. I'm pointing to it, but you guys can't actually see it because it's green screen. I figured I'd test that out and do a vintage cube draft. So here we are. We have a soul ring in our opening packs, and that's obviously what we're going to take. There's really not much better pack one pick ones that you can get other than Soul Ring. I might even consider Soul Ring over certain color moxes like green. I think Soul Ring is better than a green moxen in a lot of scenarios because green already has ramp and Soul Ring ramps you harder in colors that aren't able to. So for example, you can turn 1 Soul Ring, turn 2 Urza, whereas a green moxen, I mean, you can go turn 1 Mox land Soul Ring into, I don't know, could be an opposition agent would be good, but yeah, we're gonna take the Soul Ring. It's a very easy pick here. Soul Ring does go well with Ravages of War. It also goes, it's good in a green deck, but to really take advantage of it, it's better to put it in other color decks where this effect is more unique. I'm a big fan of Gonti, but I think it's between Ravages of War and Venser. And Venser's just a better card. Much more versatile. It's also the only, I mean, there's Frantic Surge, but that's more of like a reanimator slash storm card. So maybe we're gonna, hopefully we can send some signals here and take the Venser. We could try to go Artifacts Matter and take this Worn Power Stone. Go big ramp. Oh, there's a Mox Diamond though. I'm a big fan of Mox Diamond. It goes in a lot of decks, and especially with Soul Ring, it can lead to some really broken starts. So we're gonna take the Mox Diamond. Maybe we're gonna try to be a Burning of Jingye deck? Wildfire deck? In which case Crucible of World looks pretty nice. Right now it only goes with Mox Diamond, but if we get fetches or one of the wildfire effects, then this will be good. Alternatively, we can take a Frost Titan because with our current start we can put that out really quickly. There's a top if we did want to go Artifacts Matters, but I think we're going to go Crucible, see if we can draft something spicy. And Balance is very good with this start. I think that's the pick here. And white's usually pretty open, so we're going to take that. If we can go turn 1 Mox Diamond Soul Ring, our mana's going to be not in lands, and we can balance when we only have 1 land in play. And because Mox Diamond Soul Ring, this takes 2 cards of our hand, this takes 1 card out of our hand, we can make balance into a turn 2 Stone Rain plus discard plus make our opponent discard 4 cards. So there's a Razor Verge Thicket if we want to do any green things. It helps us fix for our balance. But other than that, there's not a whole lot. We could take Kaya. We could turn 2 a Kaya and then balance away their creatures and have this slowly uptick eating their graveyard. That doesn't seem particularly strong. I think we would rather have a Toxic Deluge. Maybe we should just be Storm. I'm just so bad at drafting Storm. Though I think I'm gonna take an Armageddon. I'm more comfortable with that type of deck. I'm definitely gonna try Storm deck at some point, but I don't think today's the day. I think we're just gonna take the Heartless Act. Do we want the Avacyn? I'll take the Avacyn. Ooh, an opposition agent can shut off a lot of things. And it does have flash. We can play it on turn 1 if they have a fetch land, which we discussed earlier. Additionally, there's actually a Johnny as well, which kind of goes really well with this mana denial theme that we have going on. We would like to pick up some more Wrath of God. I think we'll take the Elspeth Conquers Death here. Thraben Inspector. I don't think Thraben Inspector and Balance don't really go all that well together, but I guess we'll take a Stirring Wildwood. Maybe we'll want that. And I don't think we're playing Casualties of War, but we'll pick it up. So I think Venser didn't shape up. I really like to, I try to play blue decks, but it's just always so ridiculously cut. I mean, you see, we had a Frost Titan come around, and there were some blue storm cards, but other than that, there wasn't too much in the way of storm. Though, if you ever want to play mono white, you pretty much have your pick of the litter. I mean, Tithe Taker, last pick. Leonin Relic Warder is a fantastic mono white card, and then we got like Elspeth Conquers Death is just good value. This is tough between, so we could definitely be a Mishra's Workshop deck. I mean, we've got a good amount. I mean, right now we only have 2 artifacts, but this deck wants a lot more artifact mana. On the other hand, there's an Ancestral Recall. And blue was very cut, but at the same time, it's pretty. If you can splash an Ancestral, you splash an Ancestral. Since white was so open, I imagine a lot of people aren't going to be taking the blue-white fixing. I guess I'll take the Ancestral. Here we have Monotithe, Vindicate, Jace. But I feel like we're gonna get a few decent blue cards in a couple packs, and then it's just gonna dry right up. But there's not a whole lot else for us here. I mean, we're not taking Recruit of the Guard. I do really like Monotithe, but based on what we wheeled last time, I imagine we're gonna get this back. So I guess we'll take the Jace. Here. I do like Russian Port, but I think it's more important to just take the fixing while we can so that we can actually play these cards that we have. Ooh, there's Misty, there's a Tinker. We need to pick up more artifacts for this to be a Tinker deck, and we did pass a Mishra's Workshop, so it's not guaranteed that that's going to be able to happen. And we don't have any Tinker targets. We already passed a Mer Battlesphere. I think we just have to take the Misty if we want to play blue. It also works really well with Crucible. Smokestack. That goes well with Crucible. There's also Coalition Relic. I think Smokestack probably comes around though. So maybe we just take the Coalition Relic so that we can actually play our cards. And here we're going to take a Seachrome Coast. Again, we kind of need fixing to be able to play our double blue cards. Probably not playing Toxic Deluge. It is kind of it. We saw Reanimate last pack and Tomb this pack. And a Necromancy. Wasteland, though. That's a super late Wasteland. We're definitely picking that up. That goes well with our Crucible and our overall game plan of Mana Denial. Perfect. I think we just have to take the Hollowed Fountain here. I do like the Marsh Flats, but right now it doesn't actually fetch anything. It does allow us to splash black for Toxic Deluge, I guess, but we're just going to take the Hollowed Fountain so we can play our spells. Sphinx of the Steel Wind. So it looks like somebody did pick up the Mishra's Workshop. I believe this was our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this was our opening. The pack that we opened. So if somebody took Mishra's Workshop, I imagine they would have taken Tinker, but there's not a whole lot else for us here. I guess we'll take this, but just in case we get the Tinker, but I don't think it's going to happen. There's a Kuldotha Forge Master, but I think that's just a really slow card. Gideon Jura is just going to be better in a lot of different circumstances. I don't understand why this card's in the cube. We're going to take a Brimaz. Mystical Tutor? That gets us Ravages of War, Armageddon, Balance, Ancestral. Yeah, this is a good Mystical Tutor deck. Or not. I mean, I liked the other white creatures, but this helps us with our game plan if we can end up... There's our Burning. That would have been nice, but I think we're more solidly blue-white than red. I still would like to splash the Ajani if we can, but right now we only have one red source, two red sources. So I don't think we're going to. Scrubland. So that is fetchable by nothing. Misty's our only fetch. Scrubland doesn't do anything right now. There is a volcanic island that will help us. That can help us cast a Johnny. There's Spell Pierce. I like Spell Pierce quite a bit. There's Oko, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 possible green sources. Probably best to just keep the deck consistent with what we're trying to do than take an Oko. Though Oko is really good with balance and Armageddons. Yeah, we'll take the Oko. I'm feeling ambitious. Fast Bond. No, we can't Fast Bond. It is good. Fast Bond, Wasteland, Crucible can do some things if they have a lot of non-basics, but I think we don't have that many artifacts, but Emery could be good. It allows us to rebuy our artifacts if they kill them, and it kind of digs 4 deeper for one of our artifacts. But what else is decent here? Not a whole lot. There's Nahiri, if we can splash red. Maybe we do just take the Fast Bond and try to pick up some green fixing. Thran Dynamo, Wheel of Fortune. There's a Skyclave Apparition. This helps us splash red, but Prismatic Vista kind of helps us splash whatever, so I think we're going to take that. Preordain, I think, is probably the most important card here. It's kind of like pseudo-fixing. You can scry if we have one of our green cards in hand, or we see one of our, and we don't have a green source, then we can scry to try to hit a green source. Or if we don't have a green source in our hand and we see a green card, then we can bottom the green cards so that they're not as dead. So I think we're going to take that. Teferi's perfect for this deck. Renin 6 is also pretty good, but it's a double splash, and I don't really want to be 4 colors. So Teferi it is. There's a Simic Signet, and we're going to take the Simic Signet. That helps us with our Oko splash. There's Solemn, that helps us with our Oko splash. Monastery Mentor seems pretty decent, actually. I feel like this is the rare good Mentor deck, so we're going to try that. Fractured Identity? That's a super late Fractured Identity, no respect. Throw that in the sideboard. Spell Pierce came around, that's great. Love to see it. Like Fast Bonds. I mean, we do have 2 fetch lands, so if we have Fast Bond Crucible, then that basically lets us pick all of the cards out of our deck. It's unfortunate that we didn't see any other dual lands, really. Just the Hollowed Fountain. And I don't think we're playing a Johnny either. I'll take Amiria's Call. Skyclave Apparition? Or Gideon? That'll be the Apparition. Kithian goes in the sideboard. I don't know if Apparition or Gideon is better there. Gideon's better with Mentor and Balance, though Balance is a sorcery, so maybe not. Since we can only balance on our turn, and Gideon is a creature on our turn, this would actually make us sacrifice the Gideon. I'll pick up a Sun Titan. Since we have a Soul Ring, we might be interested in playing it. Parallax Wave goes really well with balance, so if we do end up having a creature out, like a Skyclave Apparition, Brimaz, Mentor, we can use the Parallax Wave to exile all of our own creatures, then balance to get rid of all of theirs, and then Parallax Wave will tick down and give us all of our creatures back. We're going to play all of these lands. 28. So is it worth it to play Oko Fast Bond with probably not Fast Bond? It only goes well with Crucible of Worlds. 27. Probably don't need Archangel Abyssin. Elspeth Conquers Death is good because we have a good amount of creatures that we want to bring back. Maybe we cut Parallax Wave. I like Monotithe, Spell Pierce, Soul Ring, obviously. I like Gideon. Sun Titan's probably a bit too much for a deck that's running 2 Armageddon effects. And for the same reason, maybe we cut Elspeth or Baneslayer. Because with Mystical Tutor Ravages Armageddon, it's unlikely they're going to have that we're going to have 5 mana and they're going to have a permanent with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So I think we're going to cut that. And Mox Diamond is also a spell because it makes us discard a land. I don't think this is a 16 land deck because we have we only have 3 other mana sources. Maybe we cut the Mentor or the Fencer. I think it's Baneslayer. We'll cut the Baneslayer. And we're going to run 1 forest, cut down 1 on the white. So that way we actually have something to fetch with our Prismatic Vista and Misty. Otherwise we're relying solely on Simic Signet, Mox Diamond, Coalition Relic. So right now we have 7 green sources. That's actually pretty good. Maybe we... No, taking out the forest makes us lose 3 full green sources. We've got 11 blue, 11 white. I mean, we have all the fixing that we need. Maybe we can throw in another card. It's the best one though. Maybe it's Tithe Taker. Yeah, let's do Tithe Taker. We do curve out at 5, so it's not like we need an excess of lands in our deck. Though, now that I'm thinking of it, Wasteland's kind of more of a spell than a land. We'll try it 1 round with... We'll try it with 17. See how it goes. If we get flooded, maybe we'll end up cutting a land for a Tithe Taker, or maybe during sideboarding we can cut a land for a Tithe Taker. We'll see you guys round 1. Alright, here we are for round 2. We're on the draw, and I think I'm going to keep this. We have Crucible, Ramping, and Wasteland, so this can help really destroy their mana, and we have Mentor as a threat, so let's see how it does. If they're mono green, this hand gets much less appealing, but if they're splashing a color... Oh, never mind. We have an Ancestral. So if we Ancestral on their end step, we're going to go down to 6. So we're going to have 10 cards. We're not going to be able to play 2, and so we're probably going to have to go to discard. I think we're going to wait to Ancestral. There's no real need to do it now. I mean, we kind of have our turn 2 lined up with Simic Signet. Oh. Yeah. Oh no. Let's see what they have. Are they just like showing off the Black Lotus? Kozilek. Yeah, we can't do anything about a Kozilek. I think they're just showing off the Black Lotus. Like, we're dead to this. They're just letting us know that they have it all, I guess. Not much we could do about that. I think we're gonna... Oh, it could have been to play around Spell Pierce. That is true. So what do we do about that? I think the only thing we can do is Toxic Deluge for like X equals 12 or 15 if they have an Emrakul. But is it worth train wrecking our mana base for that, or do we want to just try to kill them beforehand? I mean, I guess it would be 4. So we would cut Wasteland for it because I don't think they have any targets for Wasteland. They seem pretty solidly mono green. So we would cut Wasteland for Scrubland probably plains for swamp, so we would have 5 black sources for Toxic Deluge. Parallax Wave doesn't really do it. We could take an Elspeth Conquers Death. We have Fractured Identity. I think we put in Elspeth Conquers Death. Take out the Armageddons because they're not particularly good. Take out the Crucible. Put in Elish Norn. Parallax Wave. Take out Wasteland for a white source and run it like that. Can we trust them not to have... So this hand is good if they don't have a turn 2 Eldrazi, or a turn 1 Eldrazi because of a Mox. But Jace and Jace specifically really helps ensure against a channel play, and we can ramp it out fairly quickly. I think we can do better. Yeah, we'll keep this, put the Brimaz back, and really hope that we draw a land. Drag a Tree Speaker, that's fine. Maybe we just Mystical Tutor for Ancestral so that we can draw a land. I mean, it's not so that it guarantees we draw a land. It's not great. I think it's good enough, though, because we have balance in hand, so they can do all sorts of good stuff, but it doesn't look like they have anything that plays around balance, which we should be able to do next turn. Granted, we draw a land here, which we do, which is great. So we're gonna play an island so that we can keep Spell Pierce up. Next turn, I think we're just gonna play Simic Signet so that we can play other spells, or play our Oko if we draw it. Would be nice. Noble Hierarch is okay. The more creatures they play, the better this balance is going to be. Next turn, we can play Teferi, uptick Teferi, and hold up instant speed balance. This kind of telegraphs... Oh, no, we could have like Monoleak or something, but we want to keep up basic island so that if they do have Wasteland, we can still Spell Pierce. Primetime would be great here for us. Elder Gargoth, that's good too. And Fintorn Elves. Okay, this is pretty good for us. So, Oko? I like Oko. So, Oko pluses on Gargoth. It goes up to 5, and they can kill it on the backswing. We could Fractured Identity the Gargoth, and then they don't have a whole lot going on, but I think it's better to just balance away their whole board, and then have a Teferi and an Oko and Fractured Identity. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So, do that, play Teferi, uptick, pass the turn. So they played a land, which means we don't have to sacrifice one. They play a Questing Beast. That's great for us. So we'll let Questing Beast resolve. So if they make a 3/3 Beast, it doesn't do anything. If they gain life, it doesn't do anything. And if they draw a card, that means we get to keep stuff. So we'll let them swing, because we do want to keep all the cards in our hand. I guess the Spell Pierce is probably the worst of all of them. So we would discard that one if we have to, but yep, they attack it all us, except for the Fintorn Elves, which makes sense. Let's see what they do with the Gargoth. They draw a card, let that resolve, and then we play Balance. A nice little 5-for-1 here. Then we have Teferi in play. We're going to play Oko next turn with Spell Pierce backup. My opponent said nice. We're just going to create a food token. That way if they play something scary, then we can transfer the food token for their card. They get a clue. So I think we're just going to, they're going to crack the clue. I mean, that's good for us. It means we get a bigger tireless tracker when we exchange our food for it. Drawing a land here is nice. Oh. Power 3 or less. Never mind. Yeah, I think we're just going to Fractured Identity that. And we're going to do it now so that they don't get another treasure out of it. We're going to turn our food into a 3/3. Going to uptick to Fairy, which allows us to bounce 2 turns in a row. Start getting in for damage, and if we can Spell Pierce something, that's great. If we don't get to Spell Pierce anything, then we can just crack the Clue. And we don't have any more green cards in our deck, so we're okay turning the Simic Signet into a Elk as well, so that we can speed up the clock. Deranged Hermit, you say? That's a pretty good one. That plays around our Planeswalkers pretty well. Because if we take it, they don't have to pay for it. And if we leave them with it, then they can pay for it and make their squirrels hit us harder. We're going to start out with a Preordain Monastery Mentor. We're going to put Misty on the bottom. I do like the Mentor. So we're going to play that. They probably don't have Wasteland, but I'm just going to do Mentor. And make... Probably should have done this beforehand, but we're going to bounce a squirrel. Make Simic Signet into a food. And we're going to pass the turn. No attacks. Make them pay for the Deranged Hermit. And if they do, then we're just going to turn it into an Elk. If they don't, which is great, just slam a 6-drop or a 5-drop non-creature spell. Excellent. Spell Pierce that. And we win. Yeah, they saw the writing on the wall. Drawing an island, draw some more cards. Yeah, we had too much going on there. We can turn our monks into 3/3s, which is pretty cool too. The only other thing it might be worth train wrecking our mana base to put a Toxic Deluge in. We don't have a lot of creatures, and this can absolutely destroy them. And I think we're gonna do that. So we're gonna cut a Skyclave Apparition. For the Toxic Deluge, we'll pull a Plains and a Plains. We should cut the Relic Warder. They didn't have any artifacts or enchantments, so this is just a vanilla 2/2. I should have done that already. Ravage's 4 could be good after a balance, but I don't think we're gonna have both. Add a swamp. Damn. This hand is so good, but obviously we don't have any lands. Though I guess most hands that don't have any lands look good. This hand's a little awkward. We don't have enough black sources. I think we're gonna mulligan again. This is better, but not great. Put back Elspeth Conquers Death and Venser. Maybe, no, Mox Diamond? Yeah, it's Mox Diamond. I think we just have to leave up Spell Pierce here. If they turn 2 channel us, then yeah, we can't let that happen. And then now we can preordain to try to find more lands. And we do. And we have all our colors, so we'll top. Pass the turn. Next turn we're gonna mentor, which isn't gonna be an incredibly impressive Monastery mentor, but looks like they were kind of leaning on this channel. Because a mono green deck that isn't playing anything with 3 mana is pretty rough. I think it is correct for them to run it out there, though. We had to have exactly Spell Pierce. They didn't know we have Mana Tithe, I believe, so I think it was fine for them to run it out there. But this mono green opponent sure is pausing a lot for a deck that really doesn't have that many decisions to make. They have 5 unknowns. I mean, that's stating the obvious, but they've got 5 cards in hand. One of them is almost definitely an Eldrazi. We saw Kozilek already, so it's likely that they have Kozilek in hand. Okay, Garruk's not the worst. If they downtick to make a beast, excellent. So we're gonna kill Garruk. Just bounce the beast with the Venser, and then kill Garruk with the Mentor. We just don't want them having more mana that they already have, and this is a nice little 2-for-1 here. We get a 2/2, which, you know, isn't a very relevant body against mono green, but until they have something on board, it is allowing us to push through damage, especially if we draw a land for Fractured Identity and they play something like an Elder Gargoth next turn, then the 4 damage will definitely do something. Okay, Questing Beast, that's definitely worth Fractured Identitying if we are given the opportunity. We can't block, so we're not going to. And land? Seacrump Ghost. I should have been more specific. Untapped land. But we're just going to play the Brimaz. Pass the turn. They're going to have to take another 4 here. The vigilance on this really hurts, but we're not going to throw away our Mentor to get in for 2. If they play a Gargoth, we'll probably Fractured Identity that over the Questing Beast. So interestingly enough, we can actually trade Brimaz for Questing Beast. It says it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, but if we block it with the Brimaz, it creates a 1/1 counter that is blocking it. But I think we just let it happen. If they don't have any good plays here, and we can Fractured Identity the Questing Beast and get in with Questing Beast, Brimaz, the token, Venser, and Monastery Mentor, then it's going to be pretty busted. What's this? Oof, that's kind of tough. Now I wish we had blocked the Questing Beast. They get to search their library for a creature. Let's see what that is. Them time walking us is pretty good when they have a fast clock. Rovalos does allow them to play an Eldrazi next turn. But we can Fractured Identity the Eldrazi. So I think we're going to actually block the Questing Beast this time around with our Brimaz, because I don't think we can afford to take a 4, and this has Death Touch, and their Eldrazi doesn't necessarily have Indestructible. If it's Kozilek, it doesn't. If it's Ulamog, yeah, so it's Kozilek. This doesn't have Indestructible, so I don't want to block the Questing Beast with it. Them drawing 4 cards is pretty rough, but them drawing 4 cards in a green deck against a Kozilek isn't necessarily the best. Because they still have to deal with Kozilek, and in mono green, that isn't really something you can do very easily. Gaia's Cradle was a good card to draw there. If they have another Eldrazi, they can probably cast it next turn. Or they will be able to cast it. I think Emrakul's the only one that they wouldn't be able to. I imagine the opponent didn't really know how that worked. Because I think Questing Beast is better than Brimaz. And that makes their Gaia's Cradle a lot worse. Fractured Identity, the Kozilek. Grows our Mentor. More importantly, gives us a Kozilek. We'll get in for 5. We'll get in for both of them. They already have the Questing Beast, and they don't have any black cards, so I can't imagine that they can get the Questing Beast from their graveyard and attack us with it. And if they do, then I mean we're gonna let it through. We couldn't block with either of these anyway. And then they're going to have to use it to block the Kozilek after they sacrifice a whole bunch of cards, which is going to make their Rovalos much worse. And it means we can get in more damage with these little guys. Okay, they have a Findhorn Elves. I think if I drew Balance here, I'd probably play it. Tireless Tracker. Okay, that's pretty good. It does quite a bit to help their situation. Funny enough, when you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker. If they sacrifice the clue to the Annihilator, then they still put a counter on their spell. It scares me that they're tapping for 8 mana. Ugin. I imagine they're plussing to kill Monastery Mentor? If they -4, that's A-okay with me. Yep, makes sense. So, right now, we attack with Kozilek. They sack 1, 2, 3, 4. They still have 10, 11, 12 mana next turn. And that Oko was pretty good. So we're going to start off by swinging in with Kozilek at... No, we'll attack them. I think they're debating... Yeah, I think they just have to sacrifice the forests. So this turn Kozilek attacking isn't doing a whole lot, but next turn it's going to do much more. Imagine they chump with the Findhorn Elves. No, they just let it through. I think we Oko, make a food. Or do we turn their Rofalos into a 3/3? I mean, they already have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana if I don't turn the Rofalos into a 3/3. if I turned one of these into a 3/3, it doesn't do anything because Ugin just kills it. I think we just create a food token. It buys us some time, even if they can deal with Oko, which I don't think they can unless they minus, which is they can't minus with Ugin because then Kozilek just kills Ugin and makes them sacrifice the rest of their lands. They could bolt Oko and attack him Tireless Fintorm. That doesn't really do it either. Because we can chump the Tireless Tracker with the Monk or the Fencer. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that does it. That was fantastic draws on their part. Drawing the 4 cards off of Kozilek being Ugin, Craterhoof, Tireless Tracker. And Tireless Tracker didn't even draw a card, so out of the top 5 they hit Ugin, Craterhoof. Alright. Let's see how low our life total goes. Because we can block 3, 6. Yeah. This deck is kind of the nightmare matchup for this deck. We can deal with their channel shenanigans. We have a lot of answers to that, but like being mono green, our Armageddon doesn't really do anything. Though actually they would have been really good in this scenario after we already fractured identity or Kozilek, but minus 18. We were drawing. Gideon would have actually saved us. If we had drawn the Gideon instead of the Oko, we would have plussed and made them attack. Oh, one card away. Such is life. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, welcome back to round 2. We're playing against Jake Hebert, and this hand is a mulligan. It's just too slow. Crucible doesn't do anything. Coalition Relic helps us cast these really good Planeswalkers, but we wouldn't be casting either of them until turn 4, so we're going to mulligan. This is a bit better. Balance actually gets better on the mulligan because we have less cards in hand. And we have our fixing. We have a Gideon. Mystical Tutor grabs. Mystical Tutor probably just grabs a. What's it called? Ancestral Recall to do. Are we playing against another green deck? Darn it. Well, balance is going to do a whole lot here. And I think we're going to aim for a turn 3 balance where we can cast Mystical Tutor and cast balance at the same time. Is it Signet in a green deck? Interesting. Maybe they were just short on ramp sources. Ooh, Simic Signet was a really good draw. Batterskull. What can we do about Batterskull? Ravages of War doesn't do too much. So I think we start out with Mystical Tutor. Get a Ancestral. Then play Balance, make them sacrifice a land and both of their creatures. And then we're going to discard Gideon. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna not Gideon. We keep these 3 and discard Gideon. So what this does is it allows us to play Mentor into Ancestral next turn, and then Armageddon, Ravages of War after that. So, Monastery Mentor, Ancestral Recall. Those are some pretty good ones. Maybe we want to Teferi before we Armageddon? We'll see what this is. Equipping a Batter Skull. Yeah, that's pretty good. So if we Armageddon now, we're not really winning the race. I think we have to, I think maybe Jace here? So, Jace, this lets us get in for damage right now. Bounce the Noble Hierarch. Get in for 5. That way they don't have a creature to attack with. And next turn, if they just play the... Oh, they've got something bigger this time. If it's a prime time... Oh, it's a Freyalise? That I don't like so much. Yep, then that. Making an elf. Can we beat a Freyalise? I think the answer is yes. So we're going to start off by casting Ravages of War. Destroying all lands. Gonna play a Stirring Wildwood minus Jace to return the Noble Hierarch, because they can't actually cast that next turn unless they keep their Elf Druid alive. Attack all at Freyalise, and they can save her at 1, but then she wouldn't be able to -2 to destroy my Simic Signet, and if they play a... Let's see if they have a land. They do. So we can play Teferi, bounce the Hierarch again. We'll brainstorm with Jace. Archetype's gonna be good. Put the lands back and swing at Freyalise with 1, 2, 3. 1 at them. This way Freyalise definitely dies. And we have a blocker for the Elf Druid. Oh, they have 4 mana play. What's this? Tireless Tracker. Okay. Into Hierarch. Let's see. We can brainstorm again. I like Brimaz. Preordain. Do we want to Armageddon again? I don't think so, because they have a lot of mana sources and we don't. So we're going to shuffle away Armageddon and a white source, because we already have a lot of those. Shuffle those away, grab a forest, maybe? No, we already have a green source. Yeah, we'll grab an island. Preordain. See what we hit now. Oko. So Crucible's good too. So we'll put this on top, then put the Oko on top. We're going to cast Oko, which gives us, which makes our mentor big enough that it doesn't die to tracker. Gonna plus this to fairy because that's all we can do. Get in. I think we're definitely the aggressor here. I mean, they trade with a monk, which is great for us, and we still hit them for a buttload of damage. They're down to 4, and we have a pretty extensive board state. Technically, if they play a land, they can equip the Batter Skull and gain some life, but then next turn we can just turn the Batter Skull into a... Maybe we just turn this into an elk now. Yeah, that sounds good. Alright, we have beaten mono green. So, do we want to train wreck our mono base? So I think Relic Order was okay there, but I think we bring it out. They only showed us one artifact. Oh, they had a Batter Skull too. So we'll keep the Relic Order in. Sacaleaf Apparition I think is a little weak. But what do we put in for it? I think we'll do the plan where we cut some cards to add a black splash. And we cut Wasteland for Plains because they don't have any non-basics. Ravages of War was good there, but I don't think it will be in general. Do we cut Crucible? We just run it back. And this hand is great. It's a turn 1 Ancestral, and we have the Mox Diamond, which kind of like Ancestral kind of undoes the Mox Diamond stuff, so yeah, we're going to keep this. It's fine. Draw a Fencer, so we're going to, and we can balance too, so land, Mox Diamond, discard Plains. Blue, Ancestral ourselves. And then we're going to have a turn 2 Oko, which is pretty good. They have a turn 2... Is it Signet into Elf, maybe? Okay. So... yeah, we're going to Oko. Next turn we can turn our Mox Diamond into a 3/3 to block. Oh, no, we're going to turn the Gargoth. Oh, actually, upkeep. What we could do is balance. I think that's a good play. So that will make them... I mean, we're going to have to discard a bunch of cards, but it's going to make them sacrifice a land and all their creatures. Or we can get a Toxic Deluge. That might be better. In fact, I think it is. Toxic Deluge, we'll pay 6 life. And then we'll turn our food into a 3/3 and get in. They have a Winter Orb. That's fine. We'll untap our Seachrome Coast. Doesn't really do anything. We'll create another food token. Get in for 3. And we might, if we draw a land, we might just Ravage as a 4. No, I think we're going to get a Coalition Relic down before we do that. We've got 2 cards in hand. We have an Oko on 8. We could. This might be, yeah, I think this is actually a pretty good play. So we trade our food. Can we get their artifacts? We can't trade our food for their Simic Signet, or is it Signet? So that doesn't work. But if they don't have anything this turn or next, if they play any scary creatures, we could just turn them into elks. And then we can block their elk with our elk to protect our Oko. Tireless Tracker, that's okay. Do they have a land to follow it up? They do. So they've got no cards in hand. They're probably gonna, yeah, they're gonna crack the clue. I think we're just gonna, ooh, Hex Drinker? I think we have to elk the Hex Drinker. Untap this. Play Coalition Relic. Put a counter on the Coalition Relic. Oh, we could trade the food for their Hex Drinker. Yeah, I think that's a good play. So you can have food, and I get Hex Drinker. I'm gonna put a charge counter on that and pass the turn. Not gonna get in with the food. I don't want them to. Ooh, Strip Mine. That was an okay draw. Crack the clue, which is okay. Yeah, we want to be able to kill the Tireless Tracker here if they attack. And we are certainly double blocking. Strip Mine was actually pretty good here because they just strip whatever. Oh, they didn't. That was a mistake. They're gonna do it in response to this? No, they can't. I'm in my main phase now, so land and oh, I shouldn't have played that land yet. Oh well. Ravage is War. What you got to say about that? Let my Oko do its thing. We're going to have 3 mana next turn to be able to play the Monastery Mentor. They've got no lands. We draw a land. Gonna add a white. And actually I think here we're just going to grab blue. Yeah, we win the match. So we're going to grab blue, grab a Venser, bounce their Izzet Signet so that they couldn't have 2 mana next turn, and then we're just going to slowly beat them down with foods when they don't have any mana to play. So, excellent. I'll see you guys round 3. We're back for round 3. We won the drive roll, and we are going to mulligan this deck. This hand doesn't really do much. I mean, it has a turn 4 Gideon Jura, I suppose, but nothing before that. And this hand is a bit better, so we're going to keep it and put a Plains back. It's not much faster, but the Wasteland can end up doing some work, so depending on what Ayati is playing, if they're playing mono white, it's not going to do anything. This Wasteland has really been letting us down. Mono green, mono white. Rough. Oh, blue white. It's a bit different. I don't think we're not just gonna run out to Fairy into 2 open mana. They might just have Clue Cracking open. Okay, or Containment Priest. The Containment Priest would have killed Teferi as well. But we don't want to just run him into counter magic. They have Recruiter of the Guard. It's fine. I'm just gonna grab a island here. Go ahead. See what they grab. Recruiter gets Vryn Wingmare. I could Relic Order the Clue. Does that do anything? And they don't get to draw a card. Vryn Wingmare makes my stuff more expensive. But is holding up Venser gonna do anything? I think that's probably better. Because right now they're just gonna play Vryn Wingmare. And then they're going to get in with the dorks. We're going to eat one of the dorks with the Venser. And then bounce the Clue. Or bounce the Elspeth. We can Fractured Identity the Elspeth, so that's okay. So if they get in with Thraben Inspector, Recruiter, okay, that's fine. We're just going to Venser the either the Soldier or the Clue. This means less pressure on Elspeth. This means less cards to be able to deal with what we have going on. I think we take, because, well, we can Leon and Relic Order the Clue eventually, so I think it's just the bounce the token, eat the Thraben Inspector. And then play a Plains, Fractured Identity the Elspeth, and create a 1/1. So this way we're pretty well, or Elspeth is pretty well defended. They attack with the Containment Priest and the Recruiter. We have very easy blocks on those, and then we're upticking the Elspeth. They have Selfless Spirit, which I think we're probably going to bounce with Teferi. They're holding up 3. Sure, they can sacrifice Selfless Spirit to mess with this, which is okay. We're gonna Relic Order Sky. Oh, that's bad. I don't like the Skyclave. Oh, this is a token. Sucker. So we have white, white, and then blue, white. Yeah, so we're gonna make a token. We're going to Relic Order the Clue, which means they just lose it forever. If they kill a Relic Order, they don't get it back. And then I think we'll play a Seachrome Coast and play Teferi and bounce the Containment Priest. We'll see. I'm going to put an upkeep stop on my turn, because it depends on what they do. Banishing Light. Okay, Banishing Light's pretty good. Banishing Light, probably the Elspeth. Yep, that makes sense. And then they have to remember I have a Teferi in play, and therefore can't flash in their spell. We get nothing, and they do remember. Okay, so balance doesn't do anything. Armageddon doesn't do anything. I don't think there's anything we particularly want, so we're gonna just go to our turn. Oh, Ancestral is pretty good. Monetize, Spell Pierce, Crucible. A plus. And this costs 5. We currently have 4. Yeah, I think we can afford to shock. And we can protect the... This allows us to cast counter magic, protect the Teferi. They have a sword. We have a Spell Pierce. They pay for Spell Pierce. So we will monetize. They attack with both at Teferi. I think we balance. So we do this, we balance. So Teferi goes down to 1. We're gonna go down to no cards in hand. Yeah. So we're gonna do this, grab balance. We're going to plus our Teferi. Crucible of Worlds, put a stop on their draw step. And it doesn't matter if we play a land or not, because we're just going to... They've got 5, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7, so just pass. So they've drawn their card. We will balance, and they see it. So then we have the Crucible to replay all of our lands. And Armageddon, I think, would have probably done it too. They would have played nothing. They would have Armageddon and then had a Teferi upticking while we kept playing lands from our graveyard. I think this is a pretty good matchup for us. Blue-white makes me feel like maybe I want Tithe Taker instead of Leon and Relic Order. Like it killed a clue that game, and it was a relevant body. But if they have any sort of counter magic, then Tithe Taker really helps with that. It also means that they can't, at the very least, they had the Containment Priest, they had clues, which get more expensive to crack. So yeah, I've talked myself into it. I'll take that out for the Relic Warder. And the Elspeth Conquers Death, I think, is better than Gideon. Yeah, I don't think we need Gideon to win. Yeah, we'll keep this. I think kind of lean on Monetize a little bit, but if we draw a green source, this is great. If we just drew a Teferi, which is also great, and we can Mystical Tutor for whatever we need in this scenario. Oh, don't draw step anymore. Colonnade. We drew Misty, so we can, if they tap out for something, then we can play an Oko. They have a Containment Priest. I think we just tithe that. That's pretty good against us, huh? I don't think I've ever actually seen that card do something. But yeah, it does a lot against our hand. I think next turn we'll play Oko, Skyclave Apparition. Okay. So we can't really bounce that with Teferi because they just replay the Skyclave. But then we have a 3/3 which kind of blocks everything. And we get to draw a card. Do we want balance? So we'd be discarding some lands, but they would be sacrificing a land and 2 creatures. We'd get a 3/3. Yeah, I think that's worth it. Is it more important to... Yeah, I think we can discard a land. I think that's alright. Hopefully they don't have a Monotithe of their own, or a Daze. They don't. Fantastic. They sacrifice their creatures, we get a 3/3. They play a land. And next turn we can play either Oko or Teferi, depending on what they have. They have a Recruiter of the Guard, which means that we're going to be playing Oko. They're grabbing Vryn Wingmare, which doesn't really do much. Plains, that's good. Gonna play the Oko. Create a food. And I think we're the aggressor. We're definitely the aggressor here. We're gonna get in for 3. We don't really need to defend the Oko too much because, you know, it pluses so quickly. And we have Teferi as well. If they have Elspeth, that doesn't go so well for them. Yeah, I imagine they have to attack the Oko out of principle. They do have Elspeth. That's kind of ballsy. I believe that's just dead because we need to draw a land? No, it's just dead. I mean, if we draw a land, it's dead very neatly. Not that land. It's the second time that's happened. But no, we just play Teferi. Going to bounce the soldier. We do lose our Teferi here, but that's not the end of the world. Oh shoot, that was the wrong thing. Well, we're gonna get in an Elspeth anyways. That was supposed to turn a food into a creature so that we could kill the Elspeth. Hopefully that doesn't come back too bad to bite us. I mean, we have a Celestial Colonnade, so we can kill Elspeth next turn anyway. In which case maybe we should have... No, we couldn't have left the illusion back, because then the Elspeth would have jumped that, and we wouldn't have been able to defend anyways. So I imagine they kill the Teferi. Oh, they go with the Oko? That seems odd. Okay, so they have 2 blockers. They have that, they have the Wingmare. But we're going to be able to kill the Elspeth. Oh no, we might not be able to. Selfless Spirit. Okay. That gives one of their things indestructible. Wasteland doesn't do anything. So we plus the food, plus the Teferi. Yeah, this plussing to make a food instead of plussing to make a food into a token is kind of a big, into an elk is kind of a big deal. Because then we would have 3 attackers. Oh, we do have 3 attackers. Okay. So this goes at, just attack all at Elspeth. And they let it through, which makes sense. Oh, they can kill the Oko now. But we have 2 3/3s and a Celestial Colonnade. Yep, they kill Oko. Crack the clue. Imagine they're going to play the Brynwing Mare now. I'm not sure what they're playing blue for. Porcelain Legionnaire, that's a good one. Jace. What does Jace do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can't Jace plus Colonnade. I think we just have to bide our time. Jace, we bounce that, then we're just chumping with an elk, and that's not really great. If we brainstorm, then we're chumping and taking 2. Then they can kill it. Yeah, I think we just have to pass. But I don't think they don't have any good attacks. They've got Vrynwing Mare and 2 unknowns in hand. Sword is pretty darn good. That gives it protection from elk. Oh. That's interesting. I wonder if they know. I mean, I will trade with the Colonnade here. So, I think we just cash in the Teferi. See what we draw. Coalition Relic. We already used our Oko, so we're gonna Jace. Brainstorm. Put back Plains, I guess. Oh, we should have put back the Hollowed Fountain, because now we have to shock to do what we want to do. Guess that's okay. Coalition Relic. Tithe Taker. Pass the turn. And defend our Jace. We do have 2 lands on top. If we draw our... I think the best draw would be... They have Mox Pearl, that's pretty good. The best draw would be... What's it called? Oh, that's actually kind of brutal. So it's that. I was going to say Crucible of Worlds, because that lets us shuffle away the 2 lands and put a Celestial Colonnade back in play eventually. Let's see what's on our Fractured Identity. I mean, that's a good one. What do we Fractured Identity, though? Probably the sword. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana, so we can Fractured Identity and play a Brimaz. I think that's what we're going to do. So we'll start out with the Brimaz, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Brimaz. Fractured Identity, the sword. And pass the turn. So they're going to be able to get in a Vrynwing Mare hit on Jace, but it's kind of just you know, it's doing its job. The Jace is doing its job. He's drawn us a whole lot of cards, and yep, that makes sense. They have the Legionnaire. We draw planes, which we knew about. Yeah, I think we just brainstorm again. Put back planes, Vista to shuffle them away. And we will put the Sword of Feast and Famine on the Brimaz. So it has 6 toughness. Get in with Brimaz. Makes a 1/1, which doesn't really do much. They can trade with their Brimaz plus Porcelain and Legionnaire. Or they can chump. That doesn't really do much. Do that. So we ate their Thraben Inspector, and we're going to lose our Jace here, which is a little unfortunate, but maybe it would have been worth it just to throw an attack with Tithe Taker to see if they'd block or not. Jace has done his job, though. Do we want to play Ravages of War? I think we do. Put them down to 1 mana and us up to quite a bit. And they're kind of in the abyss. They discard their land, which I think they're going to regret now that after I play a Ravages of War. Play a land, charge counter on Coalition Relic, pass the turn. Huh. They drew probably one of the few cards in their deck they can actually cast. Yep, they get in for 2. And we're just going to crack the food. We've got 4 mana to play stuff. Always yield to that. Red, I guess. Put a charge counter. Play a land. Get in with our Brimaz. And I guess our Tithe Taker. This way it's either an extra 2 damage, or if they do block it, then we can start blocking their Wrenwing Mare. This ends up being an extra 2 damage, which is fine for us. We're winning the race. If they're hitting us for 2 and we're hitting them for 2, they're at 10, we're at 15. Yeah, they level up Student. Makes sense. Makes sense. So we're going to add blue. And it's fine. Gonna swing in. Now they can't really chump anymore. Discard. Ooh, they've got another sword. Okay. So if they level up student, okay, they have land, they level up student, they level up student, they can't really attack, they do attack, it's okay, I think they're just dead on board now, play a Venser, bounce their student, and that's game. Let's take a look at this deck. Overall, it was pretty solid. We went 2 and 3, losing to. What did we lose to? Oh yeah, one of the mono green decks, the one that had channel, which I don't think was a great matchup for us. But we did pull through one. Fractured Identity is always very good. It's just a solid tempo deck. We had a lot of value in our Planeswalkers and Armageddon balance, able to protect our Planeswalkers, so we get them down early, and then, I mean, that flash balance that we had was absolutely backbreaking for our opponent. We won that game against a mono green deck that we ended up losing the match to, I believe. But I imagine we would have lost that game without the instant speed balance being able to kill their questing beast. Monotithe did its job. Spell Pierce did its job. We actually never once drew Soul Ring, which is a little unfortunate. It would have been nice to be able to ramp out like a Fractured Identity, Gideon, Armageddon, that sort of thing. A Mentor, perhaps. And it also gives us more mana after our Armageddon, Ravages of War, balance, that sort of thing. Being able to put out a Crucible with our fetch lands or our wastelands would have been good. Our wasteland severely underperformed. It was not able to, I think, between all, let's see how many games we played. I can't check. So between every single game we played, I think we saw one non-basic land, which was a Gaia's Cradle, and they had a Rofalos with 6 forests in play, so wastelanding that wouldn't have done a thing. We did play the 2-color deck, the blue-white, but it seemed like they were mono-white with islands in it for some reason. Maybe they also happened to draft an Ancestral or a Time Walk and just didn't draw it. But yeah, so Wasteland severely underperformed. The Wasteland Crucible, I think if I had known we were going to play those decks, I would have just cut those and put in something like Tithe Taker, Kithian, Elspeth. Really just all of these cards are better than Wasteland and better fixing too. We would have been able to potentially play Toxic Deluge or maybe just play Fast Bond with the fetches, but overall ended up going 2-1. Pretty good deck, and I'll see you guys the next one. Thank you for watching.